Division One has bowls. Division Two has bowls. But the NAIA doesn't have any bowls. We're going to talk about that on tonight's live stream. Hey, thanks for watching Midwest Sportsnet. I'm Joey McWilliams. Glad that you came on with me on this Saturday evening, and I appreciate it. Let me know from where you're watching in the live chat. If you're watching this, by the way, on demand, tell us where you're watching in the comment section as well. We appreciate that. Midwest Sportsnet, we cover small college sports and more throughout the Midwest and beyond. So we're not just locked on into the Midwest. We're going all throughout the NAIA. Now, of course, the Division I football with bowls, and maybe even too many of them. Division II has 4 bowls, and that's a good number. There could be a couple more, but the NAIA does not have bowls. Now, this really comes into play, I think, a little bit more this year because there were 20 teams that in the playoffs, which were expanded, and so we got to have a few more teams make it, 4 more teams that made it, but it felt like that there were teams that were left out that really probably could have or maybe even should have been in the playoffs, and it was maybe a little bit frustrating that we didn't get to see those teams anymore. Now, I realize that this is the game that we are looking forward to in the NAIA on Monday at noon Eastern. That's when the national championship will be played, and it's a rematch of these 2 teams from 2022. Hey, Jake, thanks for watching tonight in a gym. Can't hear. That's okay. I'm glad that you're online anyway. We're not going to stay too long tonight, but I appreciate you stopping by. One more wrestling match to go. So I appreciate Jake stopping by here on the live stream. As always, Jake, friend of the channel, and we appreciate Jake. So long day. Some Saturdays are like that. Hope you're doing well in your wrestling match tonight, Jake, or whomever that you're watching. I'm assuming that you're not wrestling tonight. That's okay. All right, so this is the matchup that we've been looking forward to. We've talked about this. We even had our panel on Thursday night to talk about this matchup. I was 51-49 and picked Northwestern. I realize there are folks who picked Kaiser, and I wanted to very, very badly, but ultimately I'm picking Northwestern in that game. But what if the NAIA had bowl games? Well, let's talk about that. What would be some good matchups? Now, I want you to know every one of these bowl games, I want to say this from the beginning, these are all fictitious. Nobody's sponsoring these games. These games are made up. They are absolutely, totally, 100% made up games. But if we had them, who would we have? Well, I know Jake's favorite team would be in our first one. Let's talk about the Sunflower Bowl for just a moment, okay? The Sunflower Bowl, by the way, actually did exist at one point in time, held in Winfield, Kansas, the site of Southwestern College in Winfield, Kansas. The Sunflower Bowl was there. It doesn't exist anymore. So here we are some 55 or so years later. We're going to resurrect the Sunflower Bowl. And let's talk about this fictitious game for just a moment, okay? Bring the notes down here, make sure that we have them. And the Sunflower Bowl in 2023, it's going to be held, actually, it is put together by the Kansas Department of Commerce. That's who's going to sponsor our bowl. And it's the tourism department or the division of tourism in the state of Kansas. And it's located in Topeka. So we're going to have this game hosted in Topeka on the campus of Washburn University at Yeager Stadium. Now, it's going to bring in 2 teams that I believe both should have, could have, should have made the playoffs in 2023. Friends comes in a 9-2 record, 4,611 rushing yards on the season, averaging 419 rushing yards per game. That is tops all time in the NAIA, 419 rushing yards per game. Nobody's done it better per game over the course of a season. Now, there were more yards compiled in a season. Took 13, 14 games to get 5,000 plus yards. I believe it was Reinhardt that did that. That was a few years ago. Friends 9-2. Mid-American Nazarene also 9-2. Now, we talked about this in the poll, and Corey mentioned this. Corey from NAIA Football mentioned poll inertia. These are a couple of teams that had poll inertia. They were not in the NAIA coaches ranking, not rating. I know it's not the video for that. There will be a video someday. I promise there will be a video someday defining rankings and ratings. However, in the coaches ranking, not rating, Friends and Mid-American Nazarene didn't get the love early on, and because of that, they were on the outside looking in. Of course, you win one more game. I think they're not on the outside looking in, both of these two teams, but they were on the outside looking in. Friends led by Cavante Baker, fantastic season, 115.3 rushing yards per game. He's the quarterback. That is third in the NAIA for the season. On the other side of the ball in this fictitious bowl would be Adrian Parsons, and he's been nothing but fantastic. He's been passing the ball, though. These are contrasting styles. Parsons, 3,310 passing yards, fourth in the NAIA, passing at just more than 300 yards per game. Of course, Arlandis Mitchell also doing a fantastic job, leading receiver yards per game with 114 of those. Who would you pick in this game? Now, I would ask your opinion. If you're watching us live, let us know who you would pick in this game. This one would be a tough one, and I'm not going to pick these contests, but you're matching up two different styles. The run, a very, very strong run, against a passing game, a very, very strong passing game, and both teams can play defense as well. Two teams from the Sunflower State in two different conferences. It is only fitting that they would meet in this fictitious bowl game. The Sunflower Bowl in Topeka, hosted by the Kansas Department of Commerce. This one could be a lot of fun. Made up, but it could be a lot of fun. What if there were more bowl games? What about the Altitude Bowl? That's right. These are two teams that could have made the playoffs. Now, Carroll found a way to work its way out of the playoffs. I think that Carroll likely would have been in the playoffs if the Saints hadn't lost that last game. And it was a tough loss. They didn't lose it. The National Selection Committee in the NAIA thought very highly of the Frontier Conference, and rightfully so. I warmed up to the Frontier Conference a little bit more as the season went on. I don't know that I still would have put Montana Tech in, but since the Selection Committee did put Montana Tech in, I think they would likely have put Carroll in their place if Carroll hadn't lost the last game. And oh my goodness, you want to talk about a team that has a legitimate argument to be in the playoffs at 9-1, share of the conference title in the Sooner Athletic Conference. Ottawa, Arizona has a legitimate argument to be in the playoffs. Hi, Lisa. Thanks for watching tonight. Yeah, listen, let's go back here really quickly. This would have been a fantastic game. It would be a great game. This would be a great game for 2024. And I realize Friends probably can't do it because probably locked into the conference schedule. If there were some way to get it done, I think Mid-American Nazarene has an opening. We'll see. I'm not sure how their 24 schedule lines out. They may have to repay, or they may have Langston be able to repay them with a trip to Olathe. But yes, this would be a fantastic game. Great way to open the season. But the Altitude Bowl, Carroll coulda, woulda, shoulda been there. Not so much. Led by Jack Perka. I'll get this right. We've talked about Jake here on the channel a lot. Jack Perka, who just simply willed his team to wins time and time again. Didn't have the best passing numbers in the conference or really even in the country. Didn't have the best running numbers in the conference or in the country from the quarterback position. He just found ways to lead his teams to wins over the course of the season. And then you've got Ottawa, Arizona, and the Spirit just put points up left and right. 55.2 points per game. Took care of business, game in, game out for Coach Nesbitt, and led the country in scoring this year. As a matter of fact, 55-plus points per game, just not quite enough in the eyes of the committee. And here's where a bowl game might come into play or might, I don't know, maybe make a difference. I realize that bowl games are a little bit different now and looked at differently now than they were looked at when I was young. So bear with me on this for just a moment. When I was young, bowl season was fantastic. Most bowl games were held on New Year's Day or December 31st. And you had a few outliers that would happen on Christmas Day and maybe in that week heading in. There were not 31 or more bowl games at that point in time. You're talking about 12, maybe 15. Bowl season was fantastic, and it was looked forward to, and it was not a letdown for teams because they didn't make the playoffs. Bowls were fun, and bowls were about bragging rights. And here's where bowls could be about bragging rights as well. Here's that extra opportunity for the Sooner Athletic Conference. We mentioned this before here on the channel that teams need to get a win in the postseason to make a statement. Part of the reason the KCAC hasn't made as much, or hasn't, I believe, been able to get that extra team into the playoffs once again is because the teams haven't won once they've gotten there. I realize Kansas Wesleyan does have a win within the last 5 years. And another win that was more of a forfeit from Indiana Wesleyan because of an ineligible player. But Louisiana Christian didn't get the win. Only team from the Sooner Athletic Conference didn't get the win. You play this bowl game, this fictitious bowl game, the Altitude Bowl, which is presented by Loaf and Jug, by the way, a convenience store heavily in the Colorado area. This is a game that's going to be presented by Loaf and Jug, but the RMAC conference is going to help support here, and the game will be played at a different location in the RMAC year after year. This year it'd be in Golden, Colorado, which is the home of the Colorado School of Mines, a team that finished as the national runners-up again today, lost to Harding in its Division II competition national championship game today. So this game would be played at Campbell Field, right there in Golden, Colorado. So the folks from Surprise and the folks from Helena would have to travel to Golden, Colorado. Great place to play a game there at Campbell Field. And it's an opportunity to make a statement. Maybe not as much a statement for Carroll because the Saints have so many national championships, 6 of them in this century alone, but a statement for Ottawa, Arizona to say, we belong. The Sooner Athletic Conference is a solid conference in football as well. We belong. And that's what the postseason game would be about. So I think the bowl game could make an impact there. Let's look on the next bowl game here. By the way, thanks, Elisa, for watching tonight. And if you're watching us on the live stream, please let us know in the chat, in a live chat from where you are watching. One more bowl. How about this one? The Natural State Bowl. And we would get Lindsey Wilson, a national champion in recent years, to head to Little Rock for this one to take on Texas Wesleyan. Now, again, same thing applies. The Natural State Bowl, a fictitious bowl, which is sponsored by the Arkansas Tourism Department, would be held at War Memorial Stadium right there in Little Rock. What a great place to play a football game. The University of Arkansas plays one there pretty much every year. It's also the site for state championships year in and year out. Great, great facility. And this would draw a crowd, I believe, to Little Rock. Plus, you'd be able to get folks from both Lindsey Wilson and Texas Wesleyan to make that trip to Little Rock, not that far from either location. By the way, these fictitious bowl games, we are finding sites that are within that 800 to 850 mile travel limit so that the teams wouldn't have to fly out there. Again, the whole thing's made up, but we're trying to make this happen. So, a bowl game. Same thing that applies. Lindsey Wilson, by the way, 7-3, Texas Wesleyan 8-2. The Rams coulda, woulda, shoulda been that playoff team from the Sooner Athletic Conference. As a matter of fact, if the Rams win the final game of the season against Louisiana Christian, they're going to the playoffs. If the Rams lose the final game of the season by 9 points or less, they're still going to represent the Sooner Athletic Conference in the playoffs. And Louisiana Christian hit a field goal as time expired, and the Rams lost by 10. And there went the postseason for the Rams again. Second year in a row for Texas Wesleyan, this year 8-2. Second year in a row that the Rams were in a three-way tie at the top of the conference standings and did not make the playoffs. And that's sad for them. Lindsey Wilson, led by Jabias Dawson, a 1,000-yard rusher, had 17 touchdowns. Texas Wesleyan, though, put points on the board as well, 42.7 points a game. That was 4th in the NAIA. And I think maybe the star player on this Lindsey Wilson team, on the Texas Wesleyan team, could have been A.J. Babb. Babb, a fantastic receiver, had multiple touchdown games, 3 or 4 times in a row, and led the team in receiving touchdown passes, by the way, for more than one quarterback over the course of the year. The Rams on defense did a solid job, picked up a big win over Ottawa, Arizona early on, and unfortunately for the Rams, fell to St. Thomas at home. However, that was an out-of-conference game. So The only loss, the only blemish on the schedule for the Sooner Athletic Conference for Texas Wesleyan is that Louisiana Christian game in the season finale. Lindsey Wilson, by the way, had a couple of losses, one of them to Kaiser, who we know is going to be playing for national championship once again. And then Georgetown, that was a tough loss. Bethel was the one that really kept Lindsey Wilson out. And again, you go down to the final game of the season, and the Blue Raiders were tripped up by Bethel, and the Wildcats make it into the playoffs this go-round. I think this would be a grinded-out game. You'd be able to see both quarterbacks could pass. Whoever happens to show up, and Carson Rogers might have been in there for Texas Wesleyan. Ethan Cash comes in for Lindsey Wilson, but you're going to see more of a grinded-out game right here. I think you see a lot of Javius Dawson, and it would be a fun one to watch there, again, in War Memorial Stadium, which has seen a lot of running backs over the years. Could be fun, but it is just like what the previous bowl matchup was. Lindsey Wilson, you know the Mid-South Conference. You know that they're worthy of at least 2 teams in the playoffs, maybe not 3, as the selection committee decided that was probably the case this year. However, the Sooner Athletic Conference, this would be your chance to shine. This is a good opportunity to get a postseason win and say, hey, listen, if you let us play late in November, we can make something happen. In the meantime, on the outside looking in, our fictitious bowl season in the NAIA continues as we move on along, and this one would be the Pizza Ranch Bowl. That's right, the Pizza Ranch Bowl. It's sponsored by Pizza Ranch. And you know what? There's a Pizza Ranch in Springfield, Missouri, which is where I went yesterday, picked up my daughter from college, and got her back here to the world headquarters of Emerald Quest, the owner-parent company of Midwest Sports Net. I've not ever had a chance to, well, I say that. I've had a chance to go. I've not ever gone. I would love to find out if Pizza Ranch is that good, but quite a chain throughout the Midwest and into Illinois, which is where this game would take place. The Pizza Ranch Bowl would take place in Peoria, Illinois, at Pantherplex, the stadium, at the Pantherplex in Washington High School. And this would be a fun one to watch and a great facility to watch it at, as a matter of fact. Benedictine 8-3, Concordia 7-3. One team, I think, maybe a little bit better than its record, and the other team, I think you have to look and say there were some times of disappointment this season. For Benedictine, 8-3 record, putting up 39.9 points per game, just a tick shy of 40 points per game in the top 10 in the NAIA, led by Jackson Dooley, who was throwing at 223 passing yards per game, had 32 touchdowns and 8 interceptions, a 4-to-1 ratio. And we've said here on the channel, that's pretty much a magic number right there. You get 4-to-1 on your touchdown to interception ratio or above, and you're doing some things right. So, Jake, there's a Pizza Ranch in Wichita. Okay, I still think I should make the one in Springfield because I'm making that trip a little more often. But you know what, Jake, though? I'm saving up for tailgate. I'm just telling you right now, I'm saving up for the tailgate when I next make it to Wichita, if it's during football season. Don't know if you guys tailgate anywhere else. All right. Benedictine, probably a little bit better than the record shows. Lost to Morningside in the season opener. Lost to a Graceland team that was at full strength at the time, a very good Graceland team, and then lost to Mid-American Nazarene in the closing moments of a back-and-forth barn burner in the season finale. So a season bookended with losses against very tough teams. Benedictine was good. Benedictine, again, led by Jackson Dooley. Concordia was good, but had some letdowns along the way. And again, closed the season with a huge win, an upset over Indiana Wesleyan, the only regular season blemish on the Wildcats record. And though Concordia just did not have the season I think that they wanted there, led by Seeger DeGainer, once again an All-American, third consecutive year that he's had at least 1,000 all-purpose yards with receiving, with rushing, with what he does in his return game as well. Another, clearly an All-American right there. I think you look at this game, and with Brooks or whoever throws the ball to DeGainer, they can move the ball through the air. This one going back and forth, Benedictine's going to be there. I think it depends on what Concordia team that you see in this bowl game. Again, fictitious bowl game. Concordia probably would like one more opportunity at a win. I know they closed out the season with the big win over Indiana Wesleyan, would like one more opportunity and a win. And I don't think there's any question that the Ravens would like one more opportunity. 3 losses on the season, bookending it again, season opener, season finale, tough losses in both of them. And I think this would be a fun. And the folks from Atchison would make the trip. I feel very comfortable in saying the folks from Atchison would make the trip up there to Peoria to watch this game. Not that far from Ann Arbor either, so that'd be a fun one. Pizza Ranch, yeah, I'm gonna be stuffed. And by the way, I'm assuming that's going to the tailgate, so I'm gonna be stuffed right there. I'm saving up for that, Jake. I'm not kidding. All right, one more in our fictitious bowl season in the NAIA. One more fictitious bowl game. By the way, if you're just tuning in, all of these are made up. But we're putting in things I think would go well. How about the Gateway Bowl? I think this one could be a lot of fun. And this would be against a couple of teams that missed out on their respective playoff chances in overtime. So the Gateway Bowl would be in St. Louis, and it would be hosted by the St. Louis Regional Chamber of Commerce, and it would take place on the campus of the University of Washington, St. Louis, Division III school, and it would be played, this would be so much fun, it would be played at Francis Olympic Field. This, in case you didn't know, St. Louis was the site of the 1904, how about that? 1904 Olympic Games. And the World's Fair was held in St. Louis as well. And this field was big. They were played there at this field. It used to seat more than it seats right now. I think it's like 3,000 or 4,000 right now. But a historic field with turf now, had turf put in a little more than 10 years ago, I think. And this would be so much fun. What a great site for a game. What a historic site for a game to be right there in St. Louis. So the Gateway Bowl, again, hosted by the St. Louis Regional Chamber. Kansas Wesleyan, 8-3. Pikeville, 7-3. Kansas Wesleyan struggled, and again, the divisions in the KCAC, they were stacked this year. The Kessinger division was clearly a stronger division than the Bissell division, which means that Kansas Wesleyan, all it really needed to do was take care of business in the Bissell division. And yet, they struggled. And, well, I say they struggled. They struggled against one team. Had the one loss there that really kept them out, and that was the loss to Ottawa, who represented the Bissell division in the playoffs. Kansas Wesleyan loses in overtime to Ottawa, that ground game for the Braves, getting it done. So Kansas Wesleyan on the outside looking in, still with a record of 8-3, and the Coyotes have been making the playoffs in recent years. They don't make it this year. You know they'd like to get one more opportunity, if they could, to stay on the field and get those extra practices as well. Meanwhile, Pikeville 7-3, won the last 4 games of the season, and that was after they lost not one overtime, but 2 overtimes to Reinhardt. If Pikeville defeats Reinhardt, especially if they go undefeated the rest of the way through the Appalachian, this is a Pikeville team that's going to make it in the playoffs. And it's a team that not only got stronger, I think, as the year went on, the offense just got better as the year went on. I mean, you look at the numbers that Lee Kirkland put up week after week. He was putting up 6 touchdowns, 7 touchdowns, amazing numbers. Would love to see Lee Kirkland have one more opportunity. 274 passing yards a game. That was 6th in the NAI. 31 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. Here's the ratio again. 5.2, roughly. 5.17, give or take. 5.2. We'll call it 5.2. We'll go in your favor, Kirkland. 5.2 to 1. That's an amazing ratio. That's a ratio that's going to win you ball games. And unfortunately for Pikeville, just didn't have enough against Reinhardt. And Reinhardt had a great season. We know that. The Eagles have been good. They're going to keep on being good. There's some competition there in the Appalachian. Unfortunately for the Appalachian, it really does drop off after Reinhardt and Pikeville. And with respect to the other teams that are there, there's a gap between those two programs and the rest of the league. So this one could be a lot of fun. Jake, I'm missing out on the comments there. What do you think of the transfer portal? And do you think the NAIA will ever have to have one? That's a good question. Well, let's throw that up. I just like saying throw up. Anyway, let's throw that up there. You know what? Let's actually, okay, we'll make this question relate to what we're talking about right now and go from there. From the word go, I was not a fan of the transfer portal, but mainly because I'm old school. And there's something to you sign with a team, you play with that team, and you're going to be there for 4 years or 3 years if you're really good and you find a way to jump into the NFL a little bit early or something along those lines. So you're committed to a program. And I've seen things change so much that even bowl season right now, which bowl season has taken a turn in recent years anyway, because of the playoffs going to 4 teams. And can you imagine now when the playoffs in Division I go to 12 teams that are there, and if you don't make, that's going to water down the bowls even more. Plus the fact that it means they're that much more worth less. I know that was a weird sentence, but that they are worth that much less. On top of that, people are jumping in the transfer portal now, and they're not playing with their teams for these bowl games. So what I think about the transfer portal is that I think it takes away from the game, especially in Division I where there are a lot of bowl games, and you get that glut of teams up there in Division I playoffs. It really takes away from I'm not going to say the integrity of the game, but for people like, I'm assuming, Jake, you've been watching this stuff probably as long as I have, and it's not as much fun if they're not all competing or they're not all going to be a part of that. This whole opting out of bowl games, opting out of playing, I can't even imagine opting out of an opportunity to play. And Jake, your comment right there, that is the very next thing that I want to talk about. And it has led to this. There is, for all intents and purposes, a transfer portal in the state of Oklahoma in high school. The OSSAA, within the last week, has approved a measure to say that students can transfer schools. Students could transfer schools all along, but they had to sit out a year if they were moving from one school to another. Basically give up a year if you're going to just move from this school to another school. That rule says you don't have to sit out a year anymore. Yeah, but you're not supposed to recruit to other schools. Oh, it's happening. It is absolutely, without question, it is happening. And anyone saying otherwise is either blind or dishonest, maybe intellectually dishonest. I don't know. It's not the case. And that's what this has led to. So kids are going to be moving around schools, and, will there be haves and have-nots? Absolutely, there will be haves and have-nots. And people have said for years, well, just get better. How can you get better if, you lose part of your team and they go play for a team down the road that was better than you to begin with? And so you can't build with these players if you think they're going to go somewhere else. And again, this is the high school level. So I don't know, a little bit frustrated by that, but there you go. The Coyotes played their best game of the year against Friends. Yes, they did. Yeah, they really did. And you know what I would bet, Jake? Kansas Wesleyan played their best game of the year against Friends. I would bet if they had a chance to take it back and play their best game of the year against Ottawa, they would. Just throwing that out there. Anyway, yeah, and it is a little, yeah, it's kind of scary how we think alike on that. I'm frustrated in that sense. And I don't have a dog in the hunt. My remaining high schoolers are playing in the band. They're on the debate team, the academic team, the esports team. My son's playing esports, so he's on that team. So I don't know if this is affecting him as much. You know what? Those are all things that are sanctioned. I mean, let me slow down and I'll get personal with that. Those are all things that are sanctioned by the Oklahoma Secondary Schools Athletic Association. No, excuse me. It used to be the Oklahoma Secondary Schools Athletic Association. Now it is the Oklahoma Secondary Schools Activities Association. So if my son wanted to transfer after his junior year to another school, he absolutely could. And there we go. Chiron, thanks for watching tonight. Let's put that up there. Transfer portal is diminishing amateurism. College athletics is the amateurism. College athletics is becoming more professional. Life, especially with the NIL paying. Now high school will be the new college model. I think you're right on all those points. The amateurism went out when NIL was officially sanctioned. And by the way, it not only will be according to the college model, it already is. There are many, many states in which high schools can take part in NIL, and Oklahoma now, I believe, can. Now, there are certain ways you have to do it, but it is possible. There are states that have NIL, and the NFHS, the National Federation for High Schools, had made some rulings a couple of years ago, but I think those rulings have been watered down, and so you can do more than that in high school. It really is frustrating. Amateurism's out the window. It is. It's out the window, and I think that it does take away from part of the fun of the game, because it's really tough to say now, well, you just play the game for the fun. I mean, obviously, you've always, I think there's always been you play to win. Well, yes, you play to win, but with the pay factor in there, it does take away from it. And you can get paid for anything now. I mean, that you look at, people can be paid to have YouTube channels and be social media influencers, which I think is kind of cool. I mean, not that anyway. There are the girls for the University of Miami, twins for the University of Miami they can go all out and make money, and they can wear their University of Miami clothes on whatever social media they happen to be on, because it's sanctioned. It's just part of their NIL. They can make money doing that. It does take away from saying they do it for the fun of the game. Now, all that having been said, we need to wrap up the Gateway Bowl here, but all that having been said, I'll still take it. I'll still watch college football, NAIA football, Division II football, watch Division II football today, and a little bit of bowl action in Division I. I'll still watch it and enjoy it a little bit more than the NFL. I don't know if I'm just getting older or whatever the case may be. Not that I'm not watching the NFL, but I'm enjoying this still. So one more game for NAIA, and that is on Monday. If this were to play, the Gateway Bowl would be again in St. Louis, and I think this would be a great matchup. I think it'd be fun. I would like to see Lee Kirkland move the ball against a Kansas Wesleyan defense. I think, by the way, I mean, you talk about this defense, 14.8 points a game. That was fourth in the NAIA. This is a tough defense against a very strong offense, and two teams that were, again, held out of their respective playoff spots in overtime. I think each one of them would like one more, and I think this would be a fun one to watch. So this would be in St. Louis on Francis Olympic Field on the campus of Washington, St. Louis. All right, what do you think? Would you have another bowl game? Let me know. Let me know in the comments section if you would have another bowl game, what you think about all of this. And we're going to talk again on Monday. And let me throw this one. I like this one, Jake. Let me throw this one up here really quickly. I hope the kids realize the value of the NAIA is loyalty and getting a great education and being a big fish in a little pond. You know what? A lot of them are big fishes in little ponds. We talked about that a little bit this morning. Had a chance. The folks that are regularly with me on the panel here on the forum on Midwest Sportsnet, we were talking with Vince on his radio show this morning, show out in Phoenix, and talked about that as well. It's part of the education. I had a chance to visit with Grace Beyer the other day. If you haven't seen that video, please stop by the channel, watch the video. And she is the leader in women's basketball in the NAIA. She's the scoring leader right now. Likely will keep that throughout the year. She's been the scoring leader her junior year, sophomore year, and freshman year. She's a senior right now. And she told me she had Division I opportunities. She had Division II opportunities. She chose to go to the NAIA because she said she needed and wanted the education. She's going to University of Health Sciences and Pharmacy in St. Louis, oddly enough, with the Gateway Bowl up there. We'll go ahead and take that down for right now since we're not talking about that bowl anymore. But she wanted to go there. It's an NAIA school. She could have gone to a quote-unquote bigger school, but she wanted to be where she is. And I think that's cool. There's a loyalty there. The education is there. And I think she's going to enjoy it. Could we do this? I think we could. And I'd like to get some of the guys in on this, but we may go outside of our regular panel too. And I'll see if we can get some more folks that operate NCAA too, and talk about that. I think that would be a lot of fun. I enjoy my NCAA work. Enjoyed, by the way, I will say this, enjoyed, by the way, seeing Harding do well. Harding, national champions in Division II, defeated Colorado School of Mines 38-7 today. And I broadcast a number of games that Harding has been in with my work with the Great American Conference. And congratulations, Coach Simmons and that group. And Jake, you want to talk about a team that can run that flex bone, that can run that option. Harding does it as well as anyone. There would be a matchup to see what Harding does against Friends right there, and those two teams running that ground game. That would be an interesting matchup right there. But yeah, we may put that portal panel together. Alliteration. We may call it a portal panel in doing that. Okay, here is the lineup, at least as we know it, for this coming week. And I hope that you will stick around and join me on Monday night as we will be on Monday night. And Jake, man, you are the man. Absolutely the man. I appreciate that. We'll be on Monday night. We're going to go on at 8:00 and the 8:00 Central. Okay. We're going to go on at 8:00 Central. We're going to do our top 5 performances. We're going to talk about the championship game on Monday night. And then later in the week, we'll have our NAIA football wrap up for the season. I hope to have the guys from the panel back on as we get to close out the season. We didn't do it last year, and we should have. So there was no real wrap up to our year. We're going to have one this year. So Monday night at 8, top 5 performances from the championship game, which will be played at noon Eastern. And if you have ESPN, I think it's going to be on ESPNU. It's going to be on one of the ESPN channels, ESPN3. You should be able to get it. This is how I'll be watching it right here. I'm going to check it out on my. There's my family. I'm going to check it out on my phone, and I'll be able to watch it that way because I'm going to be working. This is 11:00 Central, so I'll be working, but I'll be watching the NAIA as I travel around, getting my work done over the course of the day. We will have our wrap-up show then. We'll have our top 5 performances on Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, and then sometime later in the week, we'll wrap it up with the panel, and we'll put a bow on 2023 according to the NAIA. And I encourage you, come back for that. It'll be a lot of fun. Jake, I hope you're able to make at least one and maybe make both. If not, we'll be thinking of you definitely for sure. Chiron, I thank you very much for coming on tonight. Elisa, I was thinking about you the other day. Glad that you stopped by tonight, and thank you for being a part of our broadcast tonight and getting into the live chat. So it was a lot of fun. So thank you for doing that. Thank you very much, Jake. Listen, I'm just going to say thank you, and I hope so. There we go. There we go. I'm not. You know what? I will still listen when I'm driving up to the city. I will still listen occasionally, but I'm not as big a fan. I know you make it back down into the Sooner State some, Jake, but I have found that when I'm in that area, I'm listening to the franchise a little more. Just saying, definitely listen to the franchise more. And if you're ever up around Stillwater, Triple Play Sports does a pretty good job as well. When I was commuting up to OSU to get that degree in journalism broadcasting up there, I would listen to Triple Play when I would get into range. But as I get to the city now, I'm listening to the franchise a little more than I'm listening to the animal. Just dropping that out there for anyone who has any say. Hey, it's 9 days till Christmas. 9 days till Christmas. We did a little Christmas shopping around the Midwest Sportsnet house today. I hope I made Mrs. Midwest Sportsnet happy, able to get a couple of things for the kids. 5 kids, 2 grandkids now. I'll still be shopping over the course of the next 8 days as well. I'm not ready yet, but I'm still enjoying talking about football. Thanks for watching tonight. You guys are incredibly awesome. If you watched all the way through, God bless you. Thank you. If you watch the video on demand and you're still watching all the way to the end, you are a trooper. Absolutely. And I appreciate you. So Monday night, next live stream, 8 p.m., less than 48 hours from now, we'll have a national champion crowned by then. My pick was, I'm 51%, 49%. My pick went Northwestern. We'll see if that means anything at all. I don't know. That's why they play it on the field. Jake, thanks a lot. Kyron, Elisa, all of you all, thanks for watching tonight. God bless you guys. Have a great weekend. Go to church on Sunday, and we will see you then on Monday night.